President Obama brought his re-election campaign to America's heartland today, hoping to gain a decisive advantage in a crucial swing state. Ohio has 18 electoral votes up for grabs. Florida is the only state up for more grabs than that. It's a must-win for both presidential candidates. The president continued his recent campaign strategy of targeting his messages for his intended audiences. In northern Ohio, he delivered an appeal to the state's notoriously picky independent voters.
I want to work with anybody who believes we've got to invest in our future. I want to work with anybody who thinks we've got to give our kids a great education. I want to work with anybody who believes that we've got to make sure that we're building things here in America. I'm not a Democrat first, I'm an American first.
But while the president was refining his campaign's big picture message of being a fighter for the middle class, he was also taking pains to define his opponent in the opposite terms.
I don't think that Mr. Romney's plan to spend trillions of dollars more on tax cuts for folks who don't need them and aren't even asking for them is the right way to grow our economy. Especially since they want to pay for it by cutting education spending and cutting job training programs and raising middle class taxes. And I sure don't agree with his plan to keep giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas.
The Obama campaign is hoping the outsourcer label proves hard to shake for Mitt Romney. President Obama drew a contrast between Mitt Romney's experience with job creation and his own.
Governor Romney's experience has been in owning companies that were called pioneers of outsourcing. That's not my phrase. Pioneers of outsourcing. My experience has been in saving the American auto industry. And as long as I'm president, that's what I'm going to be doing, waking up every single day thinking about how we can create more jobs for your families and more security for your community.
Indeed, the recovery of the auto industry is an important factor for the people of northern Ohio. According to the Detroit News, the auto industry is on pace to sell more than 14 million cars and trucks in 2012. That's the best sales year since 2007. Mitt Romney might want his July 4th vacation to come to an end sooner rather than later. While he's been relaxing, his campaign narrative was snatched away. A bombshell investigation in Vanity Fair looked into the millions of dollars of Romney's personal fortune invested in offshore holding accounts to take advantage of tax loopholes. A follow-up report by the Associated Press says Bermuda legal documents show that on January 1st, 2003, the day before Romney was sworn in as governor, his wife's trust acquired 12,000 shares of Sankaty, an offshore holding firm. The transfer was not made public. The Obama campaign is more than willing to echo these discoveries. This map of Romney's offshore tax shelter was released by the Obama team. The president and his advisors are happy to remind the majority of Americans how Mitt Romney plays a different game than they do when it comes to taxes.
What's the effective rate I've been paying? It's probably closer to the 15% rate than anything, because my last 10 years, my income comes overwhelmingly from investments made in the past rather than ordinary income or rather than earned annual income.
The Romney camp tried to counter the president's push in Ohio by sending surrogates Tim Pawlenty and Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal to shadow the Obama campaign bus. Whether they helped or hurt their candidate is up for debate.
One of the basic questions is, have you had enough? I mean, how's the situation look currently? And it's not very good. So I think that opens the door for this county to look for a different leader and change, and that's in Mitt Romney.
Does Tim Pawlenty really want Ohio voters to ask if they've had enough? Have they had enough of a lower than average unemployment rate? The Romney campaign needs voters to believe they are worse off today than when they were there 4 years ago, but that might not be the case in Ohio. The latest Quinnipiac poll of the Buckeye State shows President Obama with a 9-point lead over Mitt Romney. The president maintains that 9-point lead with independent voters, who are crucial in a very swingy state like Ohio. And the gender gap could not be more in President Obama's favor. He has a 15-point lead among women over Mitt Romney. At a time when Mitt Romney needs a close race in this vital state, the last thing he wants is more questions about his wealth and the secrecy over whether or not he's paying his fair share. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: does the secrecy surrounding Mitt Romney's wealth concern you? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. Or go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. I'll bring you the results later in the show. I'm joined by Steve Bannon, MSNBC political contributor and producer for The Rachel Maddow Show. Brother Bannon, let me ask you a question straight up. Does concern over Mitt Romney's finances resonate with the voters there in Ohio? Because the message that Romney's trying to get through is that, look, things are much worse now for you than they were 4 years ago. What do you think they're thinking there?
I think Mitt Romney has a very tough case to make, especially in light of the new revelations. I imagine a lot of working class folks in Ohio are looking at Mitt Romney and saying, I don't know anyone with a Swiss bank account. I don't know anyone who stashes their cash in secret Bahamian corporations and the Cayman Islands. This is something that makes it a little bit more difficult for Mitt Romney to connect with voters, to make it seem as if he's in touch, that he can relate to their concerns. And while it's true that Mitt Romney is in a position to say that the economy is not yet good, it's especially tough to make that sale in Ohio, where job creation has been strong and the unemployment rate has been dropping, and it's actually below the national average. Put those things together, and it makes it tough to say that Romney has a compelling case to make.
So do you think today makes, a difference for Obama? It marks a shift in strategy by President Obama. Should we expect to hear him talk more about his experience versus Romney's? I mean, he was pretty clear there. What I've been doing every day is getting up, thinking about what helps you, and I've been saving the automobile industry as opposed to having this cash on offshore accounts.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think the Bain Capital controversy and this controversial background that Mitt Romney has in the private sector, this becomes a weight around his feet that just kind of continues to drag him down. You know, it's very tough for Mitt Romney to present himself as a job creator when he has this record of laying off American workers and then getting rich off of laying off American workers. In some ways, Mitt Romney's biggest weakness, his toughest issue, is jobs. And given that jobs is the number one issue and the concerns in terms of the minds of voters, it makes it that much more difficult for him to close the deal and kind of capitalize on the economic discontent that's so common among so many voters.
Yeah, you've already indicated that, look, Ohio's doing a lot better than it was 4 years ago. It's also doing better than the national average when it comes to unemployment change. Does that change the dynamic of the race in Ohio?
It does. I think Mitt Romney, especially in Ohio, because it's such an important swing state, it has so many electoral votes. If President Obama wins Ohio, it's very difficult to even imagine the circumstances in which he loses the 2012 race. And I think that if you look at the overall landscape in Ohio, given the fact that Obama has rescued the auto industry and saved so many jobs there, given the fact that the unemployment rate is dropping and improving so quickly in Ohio, it creates these conditions that when you add them together, it makes it seem as if Obama is well positioned in Ohio. And the polls that you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Quinnipiac's poll, for example, kind of bolster this notion that Obama is well positioned there.
What you see on your screen is a live shot of Parma, Ohio, as we have our conversation. The Romney campaign attacks on the president for being weak against China, and the Obama campaign attacks Romney for being an outsourcer. So in that battle, who wins that fight?
Well, I think that it's very tough for Romney to make the sale that Obama is being weak on China, especially given the president's announcement today. And I think that when you consider that in combination with the fact that Romney has been it's been a pioneer, I think was a Washington Post word, when it comes to outsourcing jobs and offshoring jobs, I think that's the kind of thing that, not just in Ohio, but throughout the Midwest, throughout working class voter communities across the country, that's the kind of thing that will continue to be a weight on his shoulders, dragging him down along with the Bain controversy overall.
Sure. Well, given all the debate going on there, what do you think is the most important issue for Ohio voters?
Well, I still think it's jobs. I mean, obviously, we have immigration and health care as being issues that have been in the news a lot recently, especially given the Supreme Court rulings. I think, though, that when push comes to shove, this economy and the job market is going to be the number one issue, not just in Ohio, but nationwide. I think that's been the case, frankly, since the day that President Obama took office. And I think the president has a fairly strong case to make, not only in Ohio, but nationwide. He can point to the fact that the economy was hemorrhaging jobs, now it's adding jobs, that the stock market was down, now it's up, that we were paying money to Wall Street before, and now we've made sure that Wall Street has paid us back. I think when you combine those factors, I think the president has a fairly strong case to make, although he's still facing the headwinds of a struggling economy. But I think that if it's a question of is the economy getting better, the president can make a compelling case with a straight face that things are, in fact, getting better.
Sure. Steve, even though we've been in there and done that, we thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
You bet.
In the meantime, you all at home need to remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. And share your thoughts on Twitter @EdShow. We want to know what you think. There are 5 days remaining that could turn this year's election on its head. Tomorrow is one of them. We'll tell you why next.